Next, we've got the Georgia game that we went to at Mississippi State. Final there was 41-21. UGA comes away with a solid win in Starkville. After that first scripted drive where State walked down there and scored, I thought to myself, I was like, if State can keep this up, they'll be competitive. But I remember watching Jeff Lebby offenses against teams like this at Ole Miss. When we were at a talent deficit, we had to score on the first drive of the game. We would always win the coin toss and elect to take the ball first. We would typically score a touchdown on a very well thought out scripted drive. When I say scripted, I don't mean like NFL scripted, like it was rigged, like it was destined to go that way. I'm saying like the offensive game plan was well thought out from watching a lot of film and they knew exactly what they were going to do because they knew what Georgia was going to come out in. Usually after the first drive, teams adapt to whatever you come out in, and you can't continue to run the same plays. These defensive coordinators in college football are too good, and they will adjust. So that's typically why you see teams like State have success. That's just the Jeff Lebby way. That's how he coaches offenses. And they come out, walk down the field, and score. And I thought to myself, surely Mississippi State will be competitive in this game if they can keep doing this. But I just remember Jeff Lebby. I was like, I just don't know that they're going to be able to keep doing this against Georgia. And sure enough, that was the best drive they had the whole day.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think we scored again until like late third quarter. Was it? It was 38-7 at that point. I mean, Georgia scored 38 in a row. We were just completely outmanned and out physical, and Georgia just knew exactly what they wanted to do in this game and executed it pretty much perfectly. And we've had some up and down performances, and I had a feeling going into this game that since we were coming off a win, this might be a little bit of a letdown because we had been fighting to get a win in the SEC for so long, finally get one, and then play somebody like Georgia. So I'm not super shocked at the result, but it definitely sucked. And we also had probably the best tickets that we've ever gotten at a state game before, and just had a great seats for this beatdown. Like, and this sucked.
Yeah, we got front row seats for this absolute splattering, unfortunately. I thought it would be more competitive on the front of State being able to score more points. Just I've watched Georgia's defense a lot this year. After watching the Ole Miss game, like until they really tighten up and it's time to be clutch, their defense is so easy to score on. And I just thought the State was gonna be able to take the top off a little bit more. Blake Shapen got pretty much killed in this game. He ended up exiting in like I think it was the late second or early third quarter with a shoulder injury. He got hit and fumbled the ball out of bounds on a I think it was like a corner blitz or something on blind side. He got smoked, and that was pretty much the summation of their offensive outing after that first drive. Was just they couldn't protect Shapen. They couldn't be consistent running the ball. It just never really came together for them after that until Taylor started to get in garbage time and show that the run game and the escapability that he brings to the table really helps this offensive line play better. They still didn't play an incredible game offensively when he was in there, but they were able to hit some shots. I think they hit one or two deep throws, one of them to Brent Thompson, who's an absolute stud, underrated wide receiver. And they had a couple big run plays with him. He punched in 3 rushing touchdowns in this game, scoring every single touchdown for State. I think that moving towards the Egg Bowl, State has to really consider, even if Shapen ends up being healthy, that Kamario Taylor needs to be the starter.
And we have to get the offensive line healthy.
Yeah,
That
Albert
is a
Reese has been
must.
out, which is you mentioned several times has been really tough on the State offensive line. I bet he'll be back in time for the Egg Bowl. If not against Missouri, y'all will really need him. But I think it really came down to the run game that Georgia had and the offensive line play. Like the drastic difference in talent there, to me, is what blew this game
It
open.
it just really showed.
Yeah, like once Georgia got stopped a couple times and it was still like a 1 or 2 possession game. Felt like State, as long as they could find at least a field goal or a touchdown before Georgia scored again, it would continue to be competitive. Georgia just leaned on y'all with the run. Nate Frazier has an incredible game. He went for, I think I have it right in front of me. He went for 181 yards and a touchdown on only 12 carries, averaging over 15 yards a carry on his own. He played an incredible game. He had a 59-yard touchdown that pretty much put this game out of reach, and or at least it felt like it did. It wasn't technically out of reach, but I think everybody in the stadium knew that when that touchdown run got broken off, that Georgia was just going to to continue do what
Is
they
that
do.
the one to make it 31-7?
I believe so.
Yeah, that
That
was
was
that
pretty
was the
much what ended
knockout
that.
punch.
Yeah, and I really was impressed with what Georgia was able to do in the air in this game. Noah Thomas had a really nice touchdown. I mean, they've been able to kind of pick apart State with those tight ends over the seam and down the sideline. They had a couple catches. There was one we talked about right before they went up 10-7. I think it was when it was 7-3. They threw a sideline pass into the left corner by the end zone to number 10, the new tight end I actually don't know. He had a little bit of a push off, and it didn't get called. Obviously, this didn't change the game, but if State gets a stop there, they still have the lead, whether they miss or make the field goal. So that kind of mattered a little bit at the moment, but at the end of the day, Georgia was probably going to end up winning this game because they were the more talented team. I think you've got to look at like talent wise what Georgia has on offense. Their offensive line's been average this year, but they're still better than State across the board. They're better in the trenches against State's defensive line with what they have on O line, and the tight end position's just so deep. They have like two or three tight ends that could start just about anywhere in the country. They all have great size, speed, and great hands. You just can't really do anything about that. Like when we played them, it felt like Oscar Delp and forgetting the other guy's name. I think he got injured in this game.
Luke
Lawson
Lucky or
Lucky.
Lawson Lucky.
Yeah, I mean, they were always getting open, and the wheel routes. They love the wheel routes and the seams, which is really more of a pro style approach when you run those two tight end looks, and you have those kinds of schematical advantages against linebackers and coverage. That's typically what you see from really, really well coached teams. We talked about this earlier when we were preparing for the podcast that despite the fact that Georgia may not be the best talent wise this year compared to their previous teams, they still have great talent, but their coaching staff is incredible. You've got to give credit to the coaching staff. Kirby Smart always hires good coaches. They always end up being head coaches in other places. So, testament to the team and what they're able to do, despite the fact this probably isn't even one of their best teams this decade. So, I think they're probably going to wrap up this season with only one loss and make the SEC championship game if A&M or Alabama screws up. I liked what I saw. State needs a win to make a bowl game. They've got Missouri and Ole Miss on deck. I think they win one of those games. I really do. I feel probably a little bit better about Missouri given their quarterback situation, but the Egg Bowl is always just you never know what's going to happen. So we'll be probably end up going to that game, and we'll probably have a lot of good conversation about that one moving forward. But unfortunately, Mississippi State doesn't end up being super competitive in this one, like a lot of people thought. Georgia run all over State for over 300 yards of total rushing
Mm.
offense, and I mean, I think that's about all you can really say about this game. That sums it up.
At least the alumni baseball game the night before was pretty cool.
Yeah, I thought that was neat. I didn't even know they did those. Apparently Texas does that too, but State had an alumni baseball game and it was really fun to watch. Ended up going into
Sold out the whole
extras.
stadium for it.
That's pretty cool. I don't think Ole Miss does one of those, but if they don't, they definitely should. That's really good for the baseball program. So I'm not a huge baseball fan, but I think that's pretty cool.